viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. In one of our previous episodes, we mentioned that your seventh function in your cognitive stack is your blind spot. And the blind spot for the ENTJ is SI, introverted sensing. So usually, the ENTJ is a little bit careless and not mindful of where he places his things, may also not be very aware of his own bodily functions. The ENTJ, because of SI blind spot, is also not very particular about order and might be disorganized. However, when the ENTJ encounters unusual events or important events, SI may actually be activated.
Some of them want to use you.
So same for all other MBTI types, you may have a blind spot, but in special circumstances, you might actually get to use your blind spot more than usual. So one of the circumstances in which me as an ENTJ uses more of SI is when I travel. Of course, there might be very well traveled ENTJs. Then their SI may not come into the picture. So even though I am talking about ENTJ traveling in this episode, I am basically talking about the ENTJs that do not travel that much. You should use this episode as a guide to think about how different people might use their seventh function or their blind spot. The words cannot come out from my mouth. So for viewers who want to know how it is like to travel with an ENTJ, this episode is also for you. Now, TE is the dominant function of the ENTJ, so you cannot hide or run away from TE. Now, TE is the dominant function for the ENTJ. What this means is that the ENTJ definitely is heavily controlled by TE. So whatever decision that he makes, usually TE is the boss. It is the first function that he will consider. Same for traveling. Whenever I think about traveling, the first thing that comes into my mind is, based on TE, what is my budget? How much am I going to spend? Only when I know how much I am going to spend, then I choose my destination. So you see it?
Relax, okay.
A lot of people choose their destination first. So in this case, when I am traveling, the first thing that comes into my mind is, how much am I willing to spend? Then I think about how many days of leave I have. Then I consider where I can go to. Of course, when I consider where I am going to, I also consider things like safety, reputation. What can I do there? But the first thing definitely is, what is my budget? So this is how an ENTJ thinks. So because the ENTJ is very efficient, after we have decided on our destination, we will get to work immediately. We will start to look for a hotel. We will start to look for air tickets. We will then buy them. So since traveling is a very important activity because you are spending lots of money on it, and it is also not something that you do very often, SI might usually come in. So this is a time when the ENTJ may be more of a planner than usual. And we are also going to be more careful. So if I were working, I would definitely must have my leave approved before I book my tickets. It's like, what if it is not approved? Then I have already booked the tickets. Of course I can cancel it, but I prefer to do it the other way around. I think INTJs will also probably think this way. So we will definitely do some research. However, unlike ESTJs who might do very detailed research, our research is very surface and conceptual. We will find out what are the possible scam places that we must avoid. What are the possible things that we must be mindful of so as not to get scammed. And if, suppose, we are going to travel with someone else, let's say a friend, then it becomes more complicated because we go on a wider planning mode. So what do I mean by that? Suppose this friend we know has bad breath occasionally. We will know that on the day of our flight, I must buy some sweets for this person so that he can have fresh breath. Because it is very likely that I am going to talk to this person very closely. So we even come to the extent to predict this kind of future events. We might ask you, do you snore at night? Because we are likely to be sharing the same hotel room as travel mates, then I will have to get you some nose strips.
Breathe Right strips are different. They're drug-free, so they can be used every night.
We must ask you what you prefer to eat so that we can plan the itinerary, so to speak. So we might spot certain restaurants that we will have to stop by, and I will definitely have to check, okay, do we have to make an appointment for this restaurant? So there are a lot of things to do. So in this case, the ESTJ probably will do the same. However, one difference between the ENTJ and the ESTJ probably is that we have a rough idea what we want to do, but we do not plan an itinerary. An itinerary is like 9 a.m. go to this place, 10 a.m. do this, 12 p.m. do this. For us, we just know that, okay, on our first day, we will go to this destination and this destination. There is no need to plan to the dot of the hour. So this means that when we are at that place, we can freely explore. If it's not interesting, then we try to see what we can do around that place. So things may not be fixed. There is still room for spontaneity. But take note, if you are going on a tour with an ENTJ, then it is very likely that this person, the ENTJ, wants to plan, wants to decide what we can do together. So if you want to decide with this ENTJ, then good. So if you are the spontaneous type who want to go on a surprise adventure, don't know what you want to do the next day type, then the ENTJ is not your ideal travel mate. No. So as spoken, the ENTJ has a mental plan what he wants to do. From what to travel by, what time we reach there, how are we going to get to how we are going to get to a destination, and what we're going to do there, roughly what we will eat, will we go swimming, what do I need to bring, to things like, if you snore, how can I make it better for me to sleep soundly? So besides planning the 5 or 6 days in advance, knowing roughly, okay, only roughly, where we are going to, we also need to plan what we're going to wear, how we're going to wear it. So in this case, let's say if I have to go out, I must think, where am I going to put my passport? Am I going to bring my passport with me? If I'm going to bring my passport with me in a sling bag, is someone going to snatch it from the driveway, thinking that there is money inside? And where am I going to put my money? Because there are a lot of questions to consider. So what this means is that when an ENTJ is traveling, they may not really be more like an ENTJ. Could somehow be a little bit like an INTJ and like the ESTJ. So a lot of thoughts do come into the mind of the ENTJ, so much so that we might suddenly behave like SI DOMs or SI auxiliaries. We might think, okay, how am I going to blend in? If we go to an Asian country, how do I make sure that we don't look like tourists? So I have this idea so that we don't get targeted on by bad people. Think too much, right? Do I enjoy my holiday? Yes, I do. Because I will always go to safe places. If I have been to that place before, then it is better for me because I feel familiar with the place. So it is very likely that I tend to explore new routes within the old route. Do you get what I mean? Of course, I am open to new experiences because we are traveling after all. However, I am going to be more likely to be careful than indulge in adventure. So this is something that you might need to take note of if you happen to be on a trip with an ENTJ, especially an ENTJ that is not so well traveled, like me. Of course, when an ENTJ is very familiar with something, like let's say traveling, then there is no issue at all because he is probably not going to engage SI, the blind spot, as a function for this trip or subsequent trips. So regardless of what your MBTI type is, you will have a blind spot. Do you find yourself engaging your blind spot more in unfamiliar situations and circumstances? So maybe if you can share with me, we can feature it in our next video. So comment below or you can email us so that we can share more interesting things about MBTI in our future episodes. If you have enjoyed this video, do give us a like. If you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can add more value to you, give you more MBTI and more psychology. Okay, before I sign off, just as a bonus, if I would consider having a travel mate, I think my ideal travel mate is either the ISFJ or the INTJ. Yes. Confirmed. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye!